Hello and welcome back to the NUFC Opinion Blog for a special fan feature interview. Tonight I am joined by Adam Clarke, who is a massive Newcastle supporter, has been for many years now. So, firstly, Adam, I thought we'd start just by discussing the current state of affairs at Newcastle. Of course, we're on a bit of a bad run at the moment. We haven't won a game in, I think it's 11 matches. So, what do you make of these issues that we're currently having, and do you see any problems to the problem? Sorry, any solutions to the problems that we're currently facing at Newcastle?
I can think of one big solution, which is to get a new manager. However, it's the problems are bigger than that, aren't they? It goes from the top, and bless Steve Bruce. His heart's in the right place, and he's got the club's interest at heart. He's a Geordie and all that sort of thing. Personally, I don't have anything against him, but when it comes to last night against Leeds was the first time I'd actually accused the players of not playing for him. Actually, I think before that, you compare to the relegation seasons, don't you? And you think, oh well, is this team similar to those teams in 2009 and 2016? And the one thing I would say is that. I would say that actually this lot look as though they still care. They look as though they're still trying. They look as though they're genuine still. Whereas compared to like past teams where it was, Michael Owen and Viduka and all those sort of characters, Wijnaldum and Sissoko and all that sort of thing. We don't have those, I don't think, in the team. We've still got a fairly good bunch of lads. But last night was the first time I thought that they don't know what's going on. They don't know what and you can tell that they're looking disillusioned. And I suppose it goes all the way back to Ashley as well. I think predominantly we've got to remember that he's the one that we want to get rid of first before Bruce, really. But since that's not forthcoming, I think we've kind of lowered the sights and setting them on Steve Bruce, really, aren't we? So yeah.
I thought last night's performance, there was improvements in the second half. Certainly, we created more chances than probably we had in the last 5 matches put together. But it's another loss, and at the end of the day, we need points in this season. So, as I say, you say that you thought the players didn't seem to be playing for them, but do you think the match was any better than we've played in recent weeks? Because, as I say, I saw a lot of, well, I wouldn't say a lot of better points, but there were certainly more chances. But I still think the issue is the manager. But what do you make of that?
No, I honestly thought it was just more of the same. I really did. I thought fitness wise, I know that Leeds are known for their fitness.
They're very fit.
They are very fit. But Fraser, who I was very excited about. It was it last season or the season before that Arsenal were apparently after him. I was excited about him coming. He looked absolutely, he was showing up really for fitness in terms of, compared to Leeds. The only one that seemed to be doing the pressing from the front, and which seemed to improve in the second half. But the only one that seemed to be doing the pressing at the front was Callum Wilson, and I think it was twice I saw him in the first half where he was pressing. And no one else joined him, and he was turning around. He was just like, come on, then, what are you doing? Are we doing this or what? So it just looks like a lot of individuals doing their own thing. When you contrast that with a team like Leeds, that look, they know exactly their identity, don't they? They know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly how they want to play, where they should be. They've got an idea about when they're going forward. There seems to be a plan. At the minute, it just doesn't look as though there's a plan. And I don't think it was an improvement last night upon everything else we've seen in the past few weeks.
So, given the lack of improvement that you speak about there, and obviously the no win in 11 games, do you have genuine fears for our Premier League safety this season?
I think there's one man. Let's just assume Bruce is staying in the job. Let's assume Ashley's staying where he is. There's one man that is going to save it, and that is Alan Saint-Maximin. If he manages to come back, which is a big if, in the same form, because coronavirus has obviously hit him hard. And I think you can see how much it's hit the BM players in particular, like this virus does. Lascelles hasn't been the same player since he's come back after. I think he was affected badly by it. And obviously, Anson and Maximan having to go home and things like that, he was affected by it. So if he comes back, and is near the player he was, he can save one. But my big fear is that he's going to come back and he's not going to be in the form he was. Then I really don't see what is going to save us, really. It certainly does feel, having lived through the 2009-2016 seasons, it feels very similar, if not worse, actually, because I still think I think there was that element of hope in 2016, wasn't it, when we got rid of Steve McLaren, and we got a few new signings in, and we're like, oh well, we should be all right now, and it was just all too little, too late. Whereas, it doesn't look as though we're going to be getting a new manager. There's not a Rafa available, or keen to come to us. Well, I mean, Rafa is, but but let's assume that he's not going to do the same thing again. It feels worse than I think the last time, to be honest. I hate to be really pessimistic, but that's the way that I'm feeling.
Yeah, it is worrying times. I mean, as far as I can tell, every time they play, there's no style of play implemented into the side. That they don't keep the ball, they don't hold it, they can't pass it. If they do, they pass it around the back, and then it gets kicked up towards Callum Wilson, who then, if he doesn't control it, then suddenly the ball's given back again. There seems to be no structure or tactics, but hopefully things will change, because I genuinely have genuine fears for the safety of us this season. But anyway, on to some better times at Newcastle. So firstly, what would you say, if you can remember, was your earliest memory supporting Newcastle?
Well, I had a feeling you were going to ask this, and it's a question I always struggle, because I've thought about it before, and it's a question I always struggle about in terms of. So, do you mean my earliest experience of like going to a game, or just my first memory, or
first memory? Yeah,
first memory.
Even if it's on television, even if it's on television or anything. Like if you remember, like a player.
Well, my first memory, I can remember getting my first Newcastle shirt when I was 7, which I still own, and it's a tiny thing. It's so it was the entertainers season, with the Newcastle Brown Ale on the front, and it was the best shirt. Think of Darren Peacock and Ginola, Beardsley, Ferdinand, Shearer, all that sort of lineup. It was that era, and that I can remember, and I can remember my dad buying the football pink. Now, you'd be too young to remember that.
I think it was the Chronicles football paper, wasn't it?
That was right, the football pink every weekend. And I can remember there was like an end of season version of it as well. And I can remember like turning the pages and just constantly it was always at the top of the page, the score and a little bit of a rundown of what happened in the match and things like that. And it was constantly Newcastle win, Newcastle 2-1, Newcastle 3-1, Newcastle 3-0, whatever, 4-3, blah, blah. And it was the great time to grow up being a Newcastle fan. And now when I think about now, I've got a little nephew, who's 3 coming on 4, and as he, is there anything inspiring about this, about the club, not even the team, the club, that would really inspire young kids now to support them and get excited about supporting them? I feel really sorry for them, but yeah. So I think those are my earliest memories: getting my first Newcastle shirt, reading the football pink. Yeah, good times.
And so, from that memory, do you have a particular favourite moment or favourite match that you went to, or favourite goal that was scored?
Well, I can't remember it particularly. Well, I suppose the obvious one's the 5-0. I remember that against Man United.
Mm-hmm.
You can't really pick out any of that as a highlight. It's just the whole match was a highlight, and the whole the next day going in and the Man United fans in school and trying to make excuses saying that I don't know. I think I can't remember, was it Scholes that wasn't playing or something like that, and Nicky Butt was in. Was it's because Nicky Butt was playing. I can't remember. I can just remember something vague like that. So those were good times. I remember when we beat Sheffield Wednesday. Was it the 7-1 or 7-2 or something like that?
I think we beat Tottenham 7-1 in 1997.
Yeah, we certainly did that, but we also beat Sheffield Wednesday by, I think it might have been 8 actually. It was like
it was 8-0. It was Bobby Robson's first match in charge in 1999.
I'm getting me big score lines mixed up between Tottenham and Sheffield Wednesday. And I can remember a deputy head of the school I was at was a Sheffield Wednesday fan, and all the kids at school were taking the mick out of him. So yeah, so really early days are just all positive, and then you've got the FA Cup finals. Was it 98, 99? 99, 2000?
Yeah, there was 97, 98, and then 98, 99.
That's it, yeah.
And there was the semi-final in 99, 2000 when Rob Lee scored against Chelsea.
That's it. So I remember those finals, and they were just the occasion was great, but obviously the tears that I had at final whistle weren't so great. But yeah.
Did you have a particular hero or player that you idolized growing up in these years? David Batty.
David Batty. Loved David Batty. He was nuts and in the middle, and he just bossed it. He was the hard man on the team, and I liked that as a kid. And I liked the fact he wore number 4 on the back, because that's what I wanted to be when I was playing football. David Batty, just
he scored against Wimbledon. I think it was on the opening day of the season in 1996 from near the halfway line.
I was a little bit gutted to hear that he's one of those footballers that don't like football. I've heard. Apparently, there's a few like that. Apparently, Batistutas like that as well, where they see football as just purely as a job. They don't, just like I would, say my job is that's it. I go home. Like that's what David Batty probably didn't like watching football. I didn't have any particular interest. He just happened to be really good at it, and that was his job. And I was like, oh man, that kind of spoils it a bit. But yeah, David Batty was someone I looked up to. Yeah.
And so finally, do you have a particular standout season that was your favourite? Because of course you've got the 2 under the entertainers era, so there's 95, 96 and 96, 97, but then you've got a few under Robson in the Champions League days. So did you have any particular one season that does stand out?
Well, the season that stands out, and it's probably because I've unfortunately never had a season ticket. It's always something I've wanted, but growing up, never been able to afford it and things like that. But I had a mate at one time who his uncle had a season ticket, and his son worked away, so he couldn't always go with them. So that spare ticket always went to me. So I went for one season. I went quite a bit, and it was the season where we just came up with Chris Hughton, and it was kind of the real nerves of oh God, how is this going to go? It was the first home game against Aston Villa. And Aston Villa were the ones that kind of could have blamed for sending Wood down, although laughing at who went down and all this sort of thing. And it was like, oh God, our cut out for the Premier League. Is it going to be another season of pain and suffering? And then when we won 6-0, it was the only time I've been drunk having not had a drop of alcohol. That's all I can. That's the only way I can describe how I felt being there for beating Aston Villa 6-0 when John Carew missed that penalty, and then Andy Carroll getting the hat-trick. It was just absolute pure elation. And so that season going forward, I think was that the season where we beat Sunderland 5-1 as well.
5-1, and there was the 4-4 against Arsenal.
I mean, there you go. What a season! That's a standout season. I was there at the Sunderland 5-1 as well. Yeah, that was an incredible season. I can't even remember where we finished, to be honest, or how we finished. But
if I remember rightly, we came 12th.
Yeah.
So just below mid-table. It's quite safe, quite secure. I think there were some disappointing losses in that season as well. I think at home to Blackburn. We beat West Ham 5-0. Leon Best scored a hat-trick.
That's it, yeah. Yeah. So just like it's all that season for the individual moments of it was good, even though the outcome wasn't best. But I mean, we've got to give Pardew some credit. Actually, I know that he's a bit of a laughing stock now, and things didn't end well for him here. But he's up there with some of the best times that Newcastle fans have seen. We've got to finishing fifth and
in the next season, yeah.
Some of the some of their signings, and it wasn't always going easy for him either. So that was a good season as well. I remember that. We've got to, we enjoy the championship seasons, don't we? Because we're the ones that we've dominated them. So yeah, there's a few out there, but unfortunately, it's too much disappointment.
And that wraps up my questions. Thank you very much for taking the time to speak to me on this. So yeah, thank you all very much for watching, and hope you enjoyed. And how are the lads?